To the gang. Shouts out to the faithful boys in the building. Been good holding it down for my partner, P Warrior underscore Niner. And we have with us today Jason Hurley from 49ers Recap. How you doing, bro?
Good. How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. Good to have you with us. Appreciate you
Good to
spending
be here.
a bit of your time with us.
It's good to be on here.
Appreciate you, man.
No
I know we
problem.
were talking earlier. You say you were in New York. I'm out here in Houston. So I know it's a little time difference.
Yeah.
Uh, Definitely appreciate you. My big bro told me he had been kind of going back and forth with you, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been looking forward to getting you on. But the cap, uh,
hmm
I guess we all hear about the cap, speculate on it. Me, obviously, not an expert at all. So,
Right.
I mean, it seems like I guess somewhat of an odd question, but just what is the cap? How does one need to operate under the cap? Just I guess to kind of get us started to
All
lay the
right.
groundwork.
Salary cap is basically how much you can spend on players. So to be salary cap, to be like you have to be cap compliant at all times.
Okay.
So
And how much is the cap?
for the upcoming season,
Mm-hmm.
it's projected at 208.2 million.
Okay. So basically, they have $208 million to work with to sign everybody as far as
Right.
players on the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know, well, I guess for me, the major speculation, well, not really speculation, but everybody know Jimmy's gonna be leaving.
hmm
So
Yeah.
everybody's been hearing about, I guess, his 20 some odd million that come off the books.
Yeah, 25.55 million.
Okay. And then that would be, I guess, money they could use to show up some of the other players, a free agents type deal.
Yeah, ideally you'd want to get Lake and Tomlinson and DJ Jones back, but we'll have to see on those two. Actually, Lakin's contract voids tomorrow, which will
Okay.
leaves a little over 1.2 million in dead money. Dead
Okay.
money is money already paid to the player, like signing bonus.
Okay.
So if a player got X amount of money and you release them, or the contract void still has like a signing bonus, you get like a $15 million signing bonus. It's prorated over 5 years.
Okay.
That way, the 15 million doesn't count against the cap the year you sign them. So it prorates over 5 years. So if you were to release or trade the player after 1 year, you would get hit with $12 million in dead money.
Gotcha. Because
So
that's what. Okay.
yeah, anything paid out already, and that can include roster bonuses, the workout bonuses, and any salary paid to them in their base salary. So if a player is making, you know, $15 million, I mean, you're not gonna cut a player like that, but
Right.
players who, if you're usually a player signs for the veteran minimum during the season,
Okay.
so they they'll get a prorated portion of it for however many weeks they're on the roster. And that can be the 53-man roster, um, injured reserve, pup list. The only difference is the practice squad. They get paid much less.
Oh, practice squad players. Okay.
Yeah,
So you say 1.2 million in dead money for Lakin?
Lakin. Yeah,
Okay. And what's the DJ Jones situation?
I I I think the Niners need to bring him back. He really shored up that run defense. especially when Armstead came inside.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that. Me and my brother spoke about it maybe a show or two ago. Uh, Kinlaw's name always seems to escape me,
Yeah,
but
yeah, Javon. Yeah,
yeah, I feel like he stepped DJ Jones. Well, to me, and he's always been to me, a pretty good player since he's been with us. I
yeah,
guess why he's not the guy per se, we can argue that or whatever. But yeah, when Kinlaw went down and they kicked Armstead to the inside, I thought those two, especially against the run, even though DJ Jones could still get up here and get after the quarterback, I
yeah,
thought
yeah,
they were a pretty good duo in the middle. Myself too.
yeah. They ideally, you would have hoped that you would have had DJ and Javon in the middle, and Nick and Eric on the edge, but Armstead's best position is inside.
I agree.
We've seen that he's not meant to be edge rusher.
No, I totally agree, bro. And
At least my opinion, and I think his play from last year, although you didn't have Nick Bosa and you really didn't have much depth on the defensive line compared to this season, it was night and day.
nah,
Yeah,
I'm with you.
yeah,
I'm with you. I feel like you spoke about the lack of depth last year, and then with the depth we have this year with the Ebucoms and the Arden Keys, and
yep.
I
Willis,
feel,
Jordan Willis,
yeah, go ahead on.
Contavious Street finally playing after 3 years, basically not playing.
Right.
Um, Unfortunately, like Kinlaw went on IR, couldn't come back. And then you got Kevin Gibbons, who really he shined,
Yeah, I forgot about Givens.
given the opportunity. And the good thing about a guy like Kevin Gibbons is he's exclusive rights free agent this off season, which it sounds weird because it's not actually free agency, but they they got to tender him a contract offer. It'll be $895,000 for the 1 year,
Okay.
and he can't go anywhere. He can't negotiate outside of the 49ers.
Okay, so he's kind of locked in at that rate.
Right. And let's take Juwan Jennings for a example. He will get tendered at 825,000, the second year minimum. He won't be an unrestricted free agent with the way it is right now until 2025. He'll be an exclusive rights free agent again next offseason. Then he'll hit restricted free agency in 2024, and then 2025 he can become an unrestricted free agent.
Okay, so and I mean you've just touched on them. So there's three types of free agents.
Yep, yep.
Because I think okay,
Unrestricted free agency. You have to have 4 accrued seasons. So an accrued season means that you are on the roster for at least 6 games,
okay,
or six weeks, 6 games, depending on how the schedule is. Whether the bye week is like this year, our bye week was week 6, I believe, this past season, week 5 or week 6. So it was weird, but like people weren't sure if Jordan Willis had to sit out 6 weeks or 6 games. It had to be 6 games. But unrestricted free agency, um, players that have had 4 years in the league, they're free to sign with anybody that they choose to, unless they get franchise tagged
okay,
or get the transition tag, which is become something that they just no teams use anymore.
okay,
And then restricted free agency is when you have 3 years accrued, and you get the team has to decide whether they want to tender you an offer sheet or offer. And there's 3 different levels for each. Each player. You can tender the guy where you could get a first rounder if he signed elsewhere, a second rounder, and then the two lower ones depend on whether or not the player was drafted or not. So Contavious Street is a free agent, restricted free agent coming up. If you tender him at the original round tender, which is going to come in at 2.54 million, which doubtful that they'll tender him like that, but they could get a fourth round pick because he was picked in the fourth round.
Okay.
Now Brunskill and Al Shair, undrafted free agents, they get the right of first refusal tender, which it's just they can. It's just for undrafted free agents. So that is 2.433 million this year. It's a little bit less, but it depends on whether the player was drafted or not. The first and second round tenders, you can put them on anybody, drafted or undrafted, as long as they're restricted. Like we've seen J.C. Jackson from the Patriots got I think the second round tender last year from the Patriots, and he was undrafted free agent. But he was a restricted free agent, got that second round tender, can become an unrestricted free agent this offseason now, unless he's tagged, which is pretty much a good bet that they'll tag him.
Gotcha. And then it's the exclusive free agent.
Yeah, the exclusive free agents are just players with 3 years or less, under 3 years of accrued seasons.
Okay.
So, like Juwan has now one accrued season, Juwan Jennings, and their other players that are exclusive rights free agents have 2 years. So we'll get the third year minimum, the 895,000, while Jennings will get 825,000. And they can't negotiate with any other team. They're exclusive to the team that they ended the season with. They have to be on the roster, one of the main rosters, 53, injured reserve, pup, not practice squad. Those players end up being what's called street free agents, meaning they can sign anywhere. That's like when a player gets released, they can immediately sign anywhere, depending on if they have to go through waivers or not.
Okay.
And with waivers, it's anybody who is considered a vested veteran, which is you have the ability to be an unrestricted free agent, the 4 years accrued. They don't have to go through waivers. Any player with less than 4 years in the league accrued, they all go through waivers. And then after the trade deadline is when all players are subjected to waivers. It's some rule that the NFL implemented. NFL and NFLPA decided. That's why the whole Odell Beckham Jr. thing was like, will the Niners grab him or not? It was like, no one's going to claim him on his salary. He was a vested veteran. Had he been released prior to the trade deadline, he would have become a free agent right away. After the trade deadline, he had to go through waivers.
Gotcha.
And nobody wanted to pick up
that
I
money,
think it was 7.25 million or whatever it was guaranteed he had. Yeah. And another thing about vested veterans, and I always say this, if he's on the roster week 1, the 53-man roster, and he has 4 years or more accrued in the NFL, his base salary is guaranteed for the season. So look at Zach Kerr. Wasn't the greatest signing after all. We had hoped that he would be a good backup nose tackle. His entire salary was guaranteed week 1, and they ended up they didn't save much when they released them. But they could get half of it back if he doesn't file for early termination pay.
Okay.
which a player can only do once in their career, where they can basically double dip. Players aren't allowed to basically, like, Odell Beckham couldn't take the 7.25 million if he was released and then sign another team with that, for that kind of money. It would offset basically. It would go down as dead money for the Browns. It would have, but then they would have got credited back that money for the 2022 season.
That's pretty interesting. Okay. Uh, Now I know a lot of people have been talking about, I guess, them trying to re-sign, well, not re-sign, but extend Debo Samuels and Nick Bosa. I guess would be
Yep.
the top two priorities.
Yes.
So, what would that be looking like? Is it doable? I guess, or
Well, I know John Lynch, general manager, said that they budgeted out, and it is doable. Um, it's going to be a lot of money. Nick is going to get at least 30 million a year. Debo is looking
how
at,
many years do you think he? How many years do you think the contract would be for?
it'll be a 5 year extension.
Okay.
Same thing with Debo, will be a 5 year extension. But you got to remember that you've got pretty much the best cap guy in
Right.
Rog. Yeah. But Debo's going to come in like north of $20 million. He may get over 20.
Okay.
And Nick will probably get 30 to 31 million a year if we're lucky.
Whew.
And the way they're going to be able to fit that under the cap this year is, if you remember last offseason when we extended Fred Warner,
Mm-hmm.
they took his base salary, lowered it down to the or to his minimum salary, and converted the difference into a signing bonus. So his cap number didn't change.
Okay.
Only, he's now signed through 2026. So I believe when John Lynch says they're budgeted for both players. I believe with Debo Samuel, that's what they're talking about, because Debo's contract or base salary escalated up to the second round tender level due to him playing at least, I believe it was like 60% of the snaps for 2 of the 3 seasons. And because he was named to the Pro Bowl, he gets a second round tender level, which is 3.986 million. So you take that, bring it down to the fourth year minimum of 965,000, turn the rest of the money into a signing bonus. Basically, you could use you might use like $29,000 of the cap, is the way that I've done it. If you give him a $15 million signing bonus. And
It,
with with Nick Bosa, he has he has the minimum salary, so you can't lower it. But what he has is a training camp roster bonus,
okay.
which is due sometime in either late July or early August, depending on when training camp starts. It's usually due on the third day of training camp, most of the time. They can take that and basically just turn it into a signing bonus. So it's basically the same thing as they did with Fred Warner.
Okay.
That's why that's what makes the most sense. I don't see Debo and Nick's um, cap numbers going up much, if any. Some people are like, 5 million, 10 million more. No, they can't. They don't have that kind of cap room.
I mean, to kind of hear you talk about how they manipulate the numbers a little bit and
Yeah,
just kind of reshuffle it
Yeah, they
yeah,
reshuffle everything around basically. Yeah,
that's
you can manipulate the cap, but at some point it'll come back to bite you in the,
gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, you look at New Orleans, they were $100 million over the cap last year. Overthecap.com has them at 75 million over for this coming year. Green Bay, 50 million over this year. That's because they kept redoing contracts. You know, Rodgers with the Packers, Drew Brees with the Saints. Eventually, it caught up to them.
Yeah, I had seen the Saints 70 million because actually from New Orleans, not a fan, bang
Yeah,
bang to the gang, but I had seen them over the cap, and all my friends keep, oh, they figure it out every year, and I keep thinking similar to what you were just saying. At some point, you're gonna have to pay the piper.
yeah,
And I
yep.
would imagine that's now since Sean Payton is kind of, he's
Yeah,
retired.
he's like, I'm gone. I don't got Drew Brees. I'm out of here. And now Alvin Kamara's got his issues yet
Yeah,
at the Pro Bowl. So
yeah. I got my brother coming in, P Warrior, over
okay,
there coming into the building. Uh, two more I wanted to ask you about.
okay,
Dre Greenlaw,
yeah,
because well, speculation. They might do something with him to try to free up a couple million, so forth and so on. Like, what do you
yeah.
think about that? Does it make sense? That is it something they would even have to consider? And then K'Wan Williams. His situation. Do you think he'll be back? And if not, I guess what would that do for the financial situation?
First with Dre Greenlaw, I don't know why the rumors are where it came from. That I think it was ESPN.com was saying he was a possible or a good trade, but when you look at the linebackers, you got nothing behind Warner, Greenlaw, and Alshire. And you got injuries happen, and we saw that this year. Greenlaw only played 3 games. It was the first time he was injured, I believe, that severe with the 49ers. So really, I mean, I don't see it happening. As for freeing up cap space, they would only free up 2.54 million. So it's
Gotcha.
not like they're gonna free up a ton of cap space. As for K1, that one is I'm puzzled by this because the he is primarily a slot cornerback, nickel cornerback, and they don't really get paid a lot of money. But last year it was weird because you had the likes of Mike Hilton, as we saw with the Bengals. I think he got $6 million a year. And then you had Desmond King, who got like $2.5 million on a 1 year deal. And then you got other guys that are older, and with K1 going into I believe 30 or so, 30 years. I and we saw last year there was no market apparently for him.
True.
He ended up re-signing for the minimum, just like Jaquoski Tart did. It just there was no market. Basically, after the first 2 days, if you're not signed, that first wave, the first week, those first 5 days when the NFL Network does their free agent frenzy thing, which I always watch to see what happens. After that week, they don't even do it because by then, every major free agent or every free agent who's going to get a contract will have gotten the contract. And then you'll have players who you thought were going to cash in, they don't end up cashing in. Like Hyder last year. I had some people say, "Oh, he'll get 10 million a year." He ended up getting 3.3 million a year. Like Arden Key, I can't see teams saying, okay, we're going to give you 10 million based on one season. It's a small sample size.
Right.
When you're only you with Hyder, his best 2 years were with Chris Kasarik as his D-line coach in Detroit, and then last year in San Francisco. This year, he only had, I think, 1.5 sacks. But Kayvon, I don't know really if he's going to come back. He probably wants to get one nice contract, but I don't know where you slot him, what amount. I mean, you could go from $4 million to $6 million a year, but if it's anything higher than that, I don't think the 49ers will pay a slot cornerback that much. Because we've seen from this regime that they're willing to spend so much on certain positions and not on other ones. Edge rusher is a premium position for them. They're willing to spend high dollars on, a linebacker, Fred Warner, tight end, George Kittle. Left tackle was, getting Trent back was big. Thank God we got him back. But, and now you're going to see, like I said earlier, Debo was going to get north of $20 million a year. And with the edge rusher, Bosa is going to get north of $30 million a year. But that's not even, that doesn't, like, when you hear $30 million a year, that's just the average per year. Then you look at how much of the contract is actually guaranteed.
Okay.
He'll probably get 80 to 85 million fully guaranteed, with about 100 million or so, a little bit more than 100 million in total guarantees. But the big portion of the contract will be fully guaranteed, as he has the same agent as his brother does, Joey Bosa.
Okay.
And I know there's a lot of worrying that Nick's going to sit out. Doing that really won't do anything. If you sit out, I don't know the exact timetable, but at a certain period, the player is going to come back, because or else they're going to lose an accrued season towards free agency. When they redid the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, back in 2011, that was pretty much the big thing that they did. Because remember Frank Gore, he was sitting out because he wanted a new contract. He eventually got a new contract, but there was no way he was going to hold out for the entire season. And with draft picks, they can't hold out anymore, basically, as well. Everything's slotted. So you're going to get X amount. And if you do hold out, if you hold out past, I think it's week 10 or 10 games, 10 weeks, you end up being ineligible to sign, and you go back into the draft next year. And I'm not sure if the rule still exists, but the team can't draft him again. And the team ends up losing that pick, basically. Basically a wasted pick.
That's crazy.
That's why we haven't seen that under the new CBAs, the two of them, 2011 and 2020 CBAs.
Gotcha. Faithful Boys Podcast been good. P Warrior _9 with Jason Hurley for 49ers Cap. What's going on, big bro? Look like we can't hear you, bro. No, still don't got you. We gonna pop you out. Bring you back in. Brought up another name, bro. Jaquaski Talk.
Yep.
Uh, I mean, I'm a
That's
fan. I'm a
yeah.
fan.
I'm a fan. I feel bad for him. You know
After
that
yeah,
he should have had it, but there's no guarantee we would have won the game.
right, right.
But I feel bad for the guy getting blamed for that.
Yeah,
Honestly, we got outcoached that game.
yeah, I definitely wouldn't blame him. Like you say,
No.
would have loved for you to make the play, but we left a lot
Yeah.
of good plays out there than that one. It's just one that obviously stick out, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't blame you either.
No.
Do you think he's he I can't even get it out. Do you think he'll be coming back?
Uh, I'm not
And
sure.
is he a restricted free agent?
No, he's unrestricted. So last year he signed for the veteran minimum because just like K1, there was no market out there for him. Apparently, when you are a guy that people think a player is going to get a long term or multi-year deal, they end up going back to the team on a 1 year either veteran minimum deal or a prove it deal. Remember
Yeah,
Deshaun Goldson?
I
Everyone
do.
thought Goldson was going to get a long term deal, and he came back for 1 year, $2 million. So I'm not sure where Tart comes into. I don't know if he's going to be back because I don't know if the 49ers are going to pay two safeties the money that Jimmy Ward is making, $9.5 million a year.
Gotcha.
It's just not. It's not possible under the salary cap right now. It's just not possible to have the players like Warner, Trent Williams, George Kittle, Debo, um, Eric Armstead, Nick Bosa, to have them all signed to big contracts, and then you add in, if they're able to keep DJ and Lakin, they're gonna have to pick and choose who they want to keep. And of course, it's a two-way street. They gotta wanna, come back. Which I know Lakin says he wants to stay and play next to Trent, and DJ has said he doesn't want to leave. But we've seen players say I don't want to leave, and then money talks.
Yeah, about to say if they offer him the bag, it's kind of hard
Yeah,
to use because I feel like Trent and Lake can have a good synergy together on the line
yeah, they do.
to where they would want to build on it. But yeah, not sure if it's actually gonna happen.
Yeah, I really hope it
Yeah,
does,
yeah, me too.
but I just it's one that I don't know. I really can't gauge whether or not he's going to come back. Like, I think it just depends. Will they pay him $10 million a year if that's what he wants? Okay, you pay your left guard $10 million a year. That's fine. But now people are like, well, our right side is pretty much our terrible. That's the side that's terrible. Brunskill, Compton, McGlinchey. I mean, you're not good on the right side. So, what about a James Daniels from the Bears or the Buccaneers, Alex Kappa? Well, they're going to get the same kind of money. You can't tie up $20 million a year in your guards and then have Trent making 23 million a year, average wise. It's just, I understand people say, "Oh, but the Chiefs do it, the Rams do it." Eventually,
Gotta pay
you're
the
gonna
price.
get, you gotta pay the piper. You're gonna end up screwed. New Orleans, Green Bay, Pittsburgh learned it. They kept doing Ben Roethlisberger's deal over and over. Now they're good. but they're in a rebuild. So it's not something that I personally would want to see happen. I don't ever want to see the Niners, going into cap hell again, because they were back in the early 2000s.
Right.
After the whole Eddie DeBartolo, paying players under the table. He lost the team basically because of that.
What's going on, bro? You good?
Yeah, man. I apologize, man. Phone acting crazy. Had to restart that thing. But no, Jason, man, glad to have you on with us. Like I was trying to say earlier, man, you the best you the best person to talk to about the cap, man. You know the way you break down the numbers and the
Yeah,
contract and all of the details. So that's why we wanted to have you on. But
I'm happy
I'm
to be
glad,
on.
yeah, I'm glad you on with us. I wanted to ask you, man, who you think is the most important player that they need to bring back, going forward for this upcoming, free agency period.
I have two players that I'm having a hard time when I look at Lakin Tomlinson
Hmm.
and DJ Jones.
Yeah.
When I look at if I someone asked me if you had a gun to your head, who would you choose? I said DJ, because he's more all around better player. Lakin is a great run blocker. He's not great in the passing. Where DJ has the speed, a guy that size being able to sack Kyler Murray, that's crazy. Russell Wilson, it's crazy. And then the run stuffer that he is, that size. I mean, but as a nose tackle, he plays about half the snaps. So some people are going to say, do you really give him what he wants? And it's hard to tell what he'll get. I mean, you look at other nose tackles. Vita Vea just signed a deal that was worth, I think, $17.5 million a year. He's a nose tackle. That's just crazy. You got
Hmm.
Kenny Clark, who signed before him, making something like 17.025 million or whatever it is.
Hmm.
It's like, I mean, they're great players, but that's a lot of money for a nose tackle. Of
Yeah. Well.
course, I think Tampa, and I think they play different schemes. Tampa, at least. I don't think
Hmm.
they play a 4-3. I think nose tackle is like a primary. Like when we, under Fangio, we had primary nose tackle type thing. So
Hmm.
Balaga,
Yeah.
Ian Williams.
Hmm.
Yeah. But I would say DJ. But I really want both back.
Yeah.
But
No, I would agree with you. I think the most important players would be DJ Jones and because to me the strength of your team is in the trenches. So
right,
why
yeah.
would you want to lose, Lagan Tomlinson who play every game for you, and
Yeah.
then DJ Jones who, is have the pass rushing ability,
Yeah.
is great against the run, and
Yep.
is just like you said, Vita Vea and Kenny Clark, even though Green Bay and Tampa Bay don't really play a traditional 4-3 scheme, but
Right.
for their scheme, those players are important. That's why they're getting the 17
Yeah.
million a
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
So I think when you think about the scheme and the way that Kusera coaches the defensive line, I don't think they can afford not to bring DJ Jones back, in my opinion.
Yeah. 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 I mean,
I think if they, even though, they drafted Kinlaw, but Kinlaw haven't been out there to really show what he could do.
yeah. And I
You
don't know
know,
if he's really a nose tackle.
right.
I'm
He
not
might be more
sure.
of a defensive tackle than a nose
Yeah.
tackle.
That three technique, what
Hmm.
DeForest Buckner played.
Yeah. So no, I agree with you there. And then I know y'all were talking about Greenlaw and Kwan Williams. I think if they could get Kwan back on a team friendly deal, then um that would be the case. They would bring him back But
Yeah.
let me ask you this: who do you think they could put in that slot position? Because me and Ben Good were talking about maybe putting Diamondola on there, but I don't think he have the quickness to play that slot position. So
Yeah.
do they draft a guy, or do they try to bring K1 back on a team friendly deal, or do they put maybe Amber Thomas in there? What do you think they should do?
I think they need to bring back K1.
Okay.
He's one of the top 3, top 5 slot cornerbacks. I'd bring him back, but he needs to be a team friendly deal,
Mm-hmm.
like a 3-year deal. There are certain guys you just I wouldn't go more than like a certain amount of years for a guy. Like the younger players, like DJ, I'll go 5 years. Lakin,
Mm-hmm.
he's more older, 3-4 years.
Right.
Guys who had like, you know, one great season, 2 year maybe. And it all depends on the money, what they
Yeah.
want.
Mm-hmm.
What they
Well,
want
I
and
mean,
what they want and what they get is a lot. Is
yeah, it's
be a big
different.
difference.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this: what do you think they should do as far as Tart is concerned? Because I'm looking at the fact that you have Hufanga, Tavarius
Yep,
Moore was on injured reserve.
yep,
Tart, made plays for us, especially in the playoffs. You should have caught the in one, interception, of course.
yeah.
But he have been injury prone, and then he have had a couple contracts with him. So, what do you think they should do? Bring him back maybe on another 1-year deal, let him test free agency, or roll with Hufanga and then see what Tavarius Moore will be coming back off of his injury.
I would love to see Tart come back, but I would just do a 1-year deal.
Mm-hmm.
Ideally, what you would do with him is what's called a 4th-year qualifying contract.
Yeah.
Basically, he gets the veteran minimum salary, which
Mm-hmm.
for him, I think he's got enough years to get 1.12 million,
Okay.
and then he'll get an extra 1.25 million. But that 1.25 million won't count against the cap,
Okay.
and he'll get a $152,500 signing bonus, and they'd all be guaranteed.
Okay. So let me ask you this: what do you think? I guess the strategy of the front office will be, John Lynch and Adam Peters and Parag Marathe, on the financial side as far as
Yeah,
prioritizing who they want to bring back, in addition to, you got Jimmy, they're gonna try to trade him,
yep,
by the 16th. That was a report yesterday, from the Ian Rappaports and
yep,
Morton and all of these people. So
yeah,
how do you think they're gonna balance it out to where they can bring? Because I think we saw the success that they had, bringing a lot of the guys back on a 1-year contract, for this
yeah,
season,
yep,
and then he was able to splash in a Maurice Hurst, and they was able to splash in Arden Key, and really stole those players from the Raiders who didn't develop them. So
right.
can it be a similar situation to where they can kind of prioritize who they want to bring back, still kind of navigate the whole Jimmy
Yeah,
deal, and then at the same time able to sprinkle in some players from other teams that they think they can develop to contribute to the team?
yeah. I 100% believe that they can they can re-sign a good amount. It's going to depend on the money. A good
Mm-hmm.
amount of their own free agents. They're the key guys, DJ Lake, and you got to decide how much you want to give K1, Arden Key, and Willis and Tart.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about Jimmy is the team needs to be under the cap with Jimmy's salary on the books.
Mm-hmm.
As of now, with 51 players, if they had 51 players signed, they only have 43 right now. They would be about 11 million or so, or sorry, 8.9 million over, but that won't be what it would come in at. That's assuming that those 8 players or 9 players, eight players are making the rookie minimum of 705,000.
Okay.
But you've got your exclusive right free agents, Jermichael
Mhm.
Hasty, Juwan Jennings, McKibbitz, Gibbons, Flanagan Fowles. They'll all get tendered. That has to happen before March 16th. So
Okay.
they have to be under the cap at the beginning of the new league year, which begins 4 p.m. Eastern, March 16th.
Okay.
But yeah, I think last year showed that they can prioritize who they want to keep,
Mhm.
as well as go out and get some free agents.
Mhm.
Alex Mack, Ebukam.
Mhm.
I mean, some may see Ebukam as a overpay. It might be, but he played very well down the stretch.
Mhm.
But yeah, he's gonna make against the cap 8.25 million. They might
Mhm.
go to him and say, "Hey, cut your base salary. Will you lower your base salary down to the minimum? We'll give you incentives to try to earn it back."
You're
That's
right.
something that they could do.
Mhm.
But getting a guy like Arden Key and Hurst, I honestly think they kind of lucked into that because the Raiders were so stupid to cut them. It
Yeah.
made no sense. Made no
Mm.
sense to waive them. It made no sense, and now we get it. As such a dysfunctional organization, everything with Gruden, and then Mayock got fired, and I never understood that hiring. He was
Yeah.
basically he was not a real GM. He didn't have any say. Gruden was the guy that made all the, you know, I want
Right.
this guy, that guy.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. No,
But
I'm no, go
yeah,
ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, I believe that they can do similar to last year. It's just the way I say it is they got to be smart about what they do with their
Mhm.
cap maneuvering. And I really believe that Prague is the best in the NFL with this. So
Yes.
when when John Lynch says we budgeted out extensions for Debo and Nick, I don't have anything like I'm not worried about them being able to not bring back guys or bring back guys.
Mhm.
There's no. If this was like Green Bay, New Orleans, yeah, I would be terrified with their cap
Right.
situation.
No, I agree with you. Parag to me is the best. Just the way you saw how they did the Trent Williams deal.
Yeah.
On the surface it was a 6-year deal, but come to find out it's 2 3 year deals, and
Yep.
they have an out, and they protected themselves with giving him most of his money up front,
Yep.
as opposed to backloading the deal. So I agree with you. I trust that, like Lynch said in a presser, that they got that money already set aside for Debo and for Bosa, and it's gonna be a deal that's gonna be beneficial for them, but it's also gonna be beneficial for the 49ers to have flexibility.
Right.
And that's why I'm thinking that if they can resign the majority of the people that they have targeted, that's gonna give them the flexibility in the draft to kind of move up and down the board to
Yep.
fit the
Yep.
players that they want.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
way, because they only have, I mean, they're in theory, if they do what they did last year, even though they gave up the 3 picks to get Trey Lance, they still had the flexibility to move around the board to get the players that they wanted, that they drafted. So
Yep.
now we know that Jimmy's going to at least give them 1 draft pick this year, maybe a conditional pick next year, depending on where he goes and how they maneuver that. We
Yep.
know they're going to have the compensatory picks from the Mike McDaniel hiring with
Yep. They're gonna have that. Sorry. Go ahead.
plus they're gonna have they're gonna have their regular picks, and then they have those 3 7 round picks. That was picks from the players that they lost.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
we know that Lynch and Shanahan like to move up and down the board and target specific players. So that's why I
Yeah.
believe the free agency period and the players that they can resign is going to be really important, because if they
Yep.
can resign most of those guys to the right deals, then when you're going into the draft, you're not so much picking for need as you picking the best player that's going to fit your scheme and that you figure could come in to either add depth to your team or people that you can develop to become starters and stars. Because like I always say, really the strength of our draft is from the third round to the seventh. That's where they really have built the team on the
Yeah.
back end of the draft.
Yep. Yep.
And those guys have become the stars, and that's who they paying. So if
Yep.
they can keep doing the same thing and keep repeating the same formula and having a success with that formula, then as the cap goes up, and your article was excellent. I was reading it today and I had read it last week when you had put it out the first time.
Yeah.
And the way you break down what's going forward in this year, but in 23 and beyond, as the salary cap goes up because of the TV deals, that's
Yep.
going to give them more flexibility, especially if
Oh yeah.
Trey
Yeah.
Lance develop, because now you're going to have the
Yep.
money. You're going to have to give him the big contract if this boy
Yep.
hit, which we all believe he will. So
Yeah.
they
I
in
do.
great position with the way the roster is set up and the way the cap is set up and how they have the flexibility within
Yep.
the cap and with the draft to really have a sustained team for at least the next 4, 5, 6 years if everything pan out right.
Right. Correct. Yeah. They have all those draft picks. They have projected to have 9 picks right now. They'll add at least one from the Jimmy Garoppolo trade, whatever it is. Honestly, I don't know where he's going to go. I would say Washington or Pittsburgh seem like a likely destination.
Yeah.
But what are you going to get? Likely a second-round pick. You're a hopeful. I'd love to get what we got for Alex Smith, 2 second-rounders at least. But, yeah. But, yeah, they have those 9 picks, and they have, I think, 8 projected picks for next year. They have their second-round pick, and they have 3 third-rounders because they had the Martin Mayhew comp, third-round comp, and now Mike McDaniel third-round comp.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they got those, and they got 2 sevenths next year. They got their own, and I think they got the Denver Broncos 7th in the 2023 draft. So they're set up draft-wise, draft capital. They have a good amount. Yeah, they don't have a first-rounder until 2024, but they're set up good with the draft. And the cap, as I say, I'm not worried about it. As I look at it, they're fine. And the TV deals, it's just players are going to get more money. The cap's going to go way up. It's going to skyrocket. Likely by 2024, you're going to see the cap go to like 260 million. And then each year after that, you're probably looking at like between 15 and maybe, if lucky, 20 million raise going up each year. So that's going to be a big thing to have the cap keep going up. The cap was going up at like 10 million a year. And you got it. Yeah, COVID really screwed up last season. That's why I had said to a lot of people that it wasn't John Lynch who got us into like a bad situation. I said, look around the NFL. It's because of the pandemic. There were no fans in the stands last year.
Right.
That's a big part of the revenue. When you're losing $1 billion in revenue, I mean, it's
everything gonna take a hit.
Yeah. I got a couple more questions before we let you go.
Go ahead.
What do you think? What should be the contract for Aziz? Because man, he was undrafted.
Yeah.
Slowly developed and have, this year really come on the scene, really blossom this year. And you still got Dre Greenlaw, who, when healthy, is a productive player. So how can they kind of work both of those contracts to keep him, man? Because we know Fred got the bag. You know, he was
Yep.
deserving.
Yep.
But you got two other good linebackers that, man, give us a trio of three of the best linebackers, maybe the best linebacking core in football. So how do we keep Aziz and Dre Greenlaw with, you know, team friendly contracts that's, like I say, beneficial for them, but also will allow us to still do the things that we need to do to be successful?
Yeah, basically they just gotta be smart about it. They gotta just uh, be smart. Don't, the way I say it, don't mortgage the future of the salary cap by restructuring all these guys' contracts. But with Aziz, he's a restricted free agent,
Mm-hmm.
and I had been saying if the 49ers can get Greenlaw and Al-Shaair at a combined 10 million or less a year, I would do that. That gives you three great linebackers or three very good linebackers. Warner's an all-pro linebacker. Greenlaw we've seen can be as almost as good as Warner at times, and Al-Shaair really came on this year.
Yeah,
So
I agree
I'm
with that.
hopeful. I hope they keep Greenlaw and Al-Shaair.
Yeah, I think they're gonna be able to do that. And that's the thing that I like about how they draft, you know, a lot of the undrafted free agents that they've had since Lynch and Shanahan have been there, have developed and turned into very good players, and they've rewarded them, you know, with
Yep.
nice contracts. So and like
Yeah.
I say, they got a good formula with undrafted free agents and, you know, the
Yeah.
back end of
Yeah.
the draft, you know, that, you know, I was mentioning to being good. I think we were talking on one of our shows where you see where the Rams had to, you know, they had to trade for their stars, you
Yeah.
know, to get stars to come in, which, you know, they ultimately, you know, won the championship. But I
Yeah.
like the fact that we have drafted our stars and have paid our stars and have been able to keep our team together as opposed to giving up all your draft choices trying to get stars, because eventually
Yeah.
you got to
Yeah.
replenish it. You know what I mean? You don't have no draft capital to replenish your team because you didn't put all of your draft capital into going to get stars, and you still got to
Yeah.
pay the stars after you give up the draft capital.
Yeah. 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 I'm with you on that. I like our approach. The way I've always said it was build through the draft, supplement through free agency.
And they've been
But
doing that
yeah,
for years.
but yeah, it worked for the Rams. It doesn't mean it's going to work for every team.
Right.
The Eagles, that whole dream team back in the God Vic and Terrell Owens,
Mm-hmm.
they won the offseason. They didn't win the championship.
Right.
You see them teams overpaying for a lot of players.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
I wouldn't get that kind of money to like some player that like Malik Jackson got, like, I forget what it was.
Yeah, he got to be.
That you got to be smart about who you give the money to.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
it really depends on the organization. Look at the Jaguars. That's an organization and just a dysfunction.
Yeah.
Where you look at 49ers, there is no dysfunction. They had the dysfunction with Harbaugh and Bulky. That was basically bulky, but Harbaugh also had his issues. That's why I don't think he's an NFL caliber coach. I don't think he can succeed in the NFL. If he
Right.
can't lead teens like 19 to 20-year-old, 21-year-olds, he can't lead guys that are in their mid 20s and 30s.
Right.
I loved Harbaugh, but they made the right choice to get rid of him.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the wrong choice was keeping Bulky over him and then hiring Tom Sewell and Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Let's not let's not revisit that nightmare.
no. Thank God that's over.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank,
Yeah.
thank God Jed's now,
Mm-hmm.
not
Yeah. He made
talking.
the right move. with
Yeah.
Shanahan and Lynch. Yeah, he did. Let me ask you this. This is my last question, and we're gonna, let you go. Do you think they should dip into free agency as far as looking at the cornerback position, or should they, use some of the draft capital that they have to try to upgrade their position or bring in, more younger players to maybe, give Amber Thomas a run, Diamador, Lenore a run? Because typically in the draft, the receiver position, cornerback position, you can find good value in the middle rounds, third,
Yeah.
fourth, fifth
Yep.
round. So what do you think they should do as far as a cornerback? Looking into free agency, maybe a top corner, or should they go via the draft?
I would go via the draft because if you're looking at the free agents, you look at J.C. Jackson and Carlton Davis, they're probably going to both get franchise
Mm-hmm,
tag. And
mm-hmm,
then after that, there's Stephon Gilmore, but I wouldn't give him $15 million a year, not being injury prone. And then you've got a lot of younger guys, Darius Williams from the Rams, Tarvarius Ward of the Chiefs. I don't know, Dante Jackson of the Panthers, the kid from, Kevin King from the Packers. You've got so many players that are free agents for the first time. And it's going to be crazy because you're going to see if JC Jackson, is unrestricted, he's going to get definitely near what Ramsey got or more, which is $20 million a year. And the Niners cannot win that, nor should they.
yeah.
The last time they paid a lot for a cornerback was Nate Clements.
Yeah, I
And
remember
they were
that.
lucky. They got lucky with the way they structured it. Because
Mm-hmm.
the year that Harbaugh got here is when he got released.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just
No, I
basically,
agree with you.
just basically be smart
Mm-hmm.
in the draft or in free agency. You got to
Yeah.
pick and choose who you're going to bring back.
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I the reason why I asked that question was because me and being good, we're kind of debating on the cornerback position. Personally, I don't think that Verrett, should come back just because of the
No.
injuries. I'm saying that he wasn't, we know he, when healthy, he was a good player, but he just been too
Yeah.
injured.
Yeah.
You
You
know what I mean?
can't
So, and
rely
then he
on
was
him.
on a, yeah, and then he was on a 1 year deal anyway. So I wouldn't
Yep.
bring him. Definitely, we know Josh Norman not coming back. Definitely don't need him back. But I was
No.
saying, that, if you go out and you try to go after a free agent corner and you pay him the money, then you stunt the growth of Amber Thomas and Diamandola, who you
Yep.
drafted. So to me,
Yeah.
you need to go ahead and let them play, see what they can do, but bring in younger players behind them. And if those younger players have the talent to push them or show that they're better than them, then you getting the best of both worlds, because now
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
young players who you can choose to figure, okay, all of these guys we drafted in the last 2 years, because I figure they're going to draft at least one or two corners in this
Yeah.
draft.
Yeah. They're
So if
going to draft at least
you can,
one or
bring the
two.
competition in, that's gonna make Amber Thomas and Diamandola Noah better. But also, that okay, we got some young boys behind them that if they ain't up to snuff, we can put them in there and they may produce. And then, depending on who made plays and who produced them, we can give them the money when it's time for them to cash in.
Exactly. Exactly. Instead of going into free agency and giving this guy J.C. Jackson $20 million a year. It's like the whole Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers whole thing that everyone keeps talking about. Rodgers or Brady's going to end up in San Francisco. The way I look at it is, one, they cannot do it cap wise because it defeats the purpose of the idea of getting rid of Jimmy's contract and having a QB on a rookie contract. The whole reason for that is so they can keep Debo, keep Bosa, keep Ayuk. If you bring in a quarterback that's making $25 million on the cap, you're not going to be able to. The only way you're going to be able to is you're going to have to restructure every contract. And again, New Orleans, Green Bay, Pittsburgh, Dallas, they all paid for it. People said, "Oh, you can maneuver, you can manipulate." Yeah, you can. to a certain extent. And then you're going to pay the piper.
Yeah, because the Saints lost a lot of good players. Hendrickson being one, who
Yeah,
went to
we saw
Cincinnati and was a
like
star. Yeah, so
15 and a half sacks, I think it was in the regular season.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they lost him. Obviously,
they lost a lot of good players.
I was talking to Ben earlier. We're like, Sean Payton's like, I'm out of here now.
Basically,
no more Drew Brees. I'm out. And then you got the Kamara thing. That whole Pro Bowl incident. The night before it or the morning of it. I'm not sure exactly.
Yeah.
What time it was in Vegas.
Yeah. And 70 million in the hole. Writing's on the wall, buddy.
Yeah. Well, that's the good thing. See, what a lot of people don't realize, and I'm gonna end with this, is that when Lynch and Shanahan got there, okay, they didn't have the talent, but they had a lot of salary cap space. But they were smart in how they used the space. They didn't overspend. Even now D Ford is the outlier. When they brought him in on a deal, he was healthy, even though he had some injury history. Unfortunately, he haven't been healthy, but for the most part, that was a good deal because at the time he was healthy and he did produce when he was out there. But all of the deals that even Quan Alexander deal wasn't a bad deal. He got hurt and ultimately Greenlaw came in and kind of outplayed him and then lost his spot. So so the way that they used the salary cap space was very smart, and they strategically put it into the players at the time who they thought could produce, and for the most part they did. And then at the same time they still had flexibility with the draft, and they could still sprinkle money to certain free agents, and then they prioritize who, like the Kittles and the Fred Warners, as they develop. So that's why we're not in the same boat as the Saints and the Cowboys and Pittsburgh. And Jason, you're right, because why would you bring in Brady or Rodgers when you got Trey Lance on his rookie deal? You about to come off Jimmy money to use that money to push to these free agents. And this is the best time to build your team with Trey Lance, because if he's become a Pro Bowl player, a star player, we're going to have to give him that second contract. This is the perfect time to build a team up with him to win before, before we have to pay him. But the saving grace will be that the salary cap will go up. So we'll be able to absorb that contract when it do come.
Exactly. And by not redoing contracts over and over, the salary cap will be perfectly healthy, as I say it. You won't mortgage the future cap. They'll be set up great. They just got to be, like I said, strategic. They got to be smart. Just don't overpay on players that are like obvious they had one good year and it like you can even tell like this is a bad deal. Or don't try to appease or please the fans by going out and trading for Odell Beckham, like Julio Jones. People want it. Julio Jones ended up not being such a great trade for the Titans. He was injured quite a bit. Stephon Gilmore, I mean, Carolina didn't give up much, but he's probably going to want $15 million a year. And for someone I think he's in his 30s, older, he was one of the top corners. He isn't now, because a lot of the guys like Jair Alexander, DC Jackson, they've all passed him.
Yeah. Well, you're right on that, bro.
Well, we got to trust that they're going to be on point with everything. That's what I'm saying. I have confidence that they're going to make the right choices and the right moves. They got a pretty good track record and a history of doing it. So we just going to, trust and believe that they'll make the right choices, bring the right players back on the right deals, and strengthen the team, for the draft. And then when the draft come, they won't be picking from need. They'll be picking the best players available, and they'll move up and down the board to get the players that they feel can get them over the top and fill in those areas. Because to me, the front end of the roster is solid, but if you can add some depth pieces and maybe, get a couple players that maybe could challenge some of the starters, I think they need to try to upgrade the center position myself. I like Alex Mack, but you're a little older.
Yeah,
Trying to bring the center in and, maybe trying to fill depth, certain positions,
Yep.
then, they'll be fine. Cause, everybody looking forward for Trey to make this jump, going forward. So if, if he go ahead and do what he's supposed to do, which we got the expectation, all we just need is to have a team around him, and then we should be challenging for another Super Bowl this coming year. So with that, man, Jason, I appreciate you coming on, man. Go ahead and plug everything you're doing. Let the people know where they can find you on Twitter.
At
go ahead.
49ers Cap at 49ers Cap on Twitter, and go to 49erscap.com. That's pretty much the two that I have.
Okay.
I don't do anything else. No Instagram or anything.
Okay.
But yeah, at 49ers Cap on Twitter and 49erscap.com.
Gotcha. All right, been good. You got anything left?
Nah, man. Look, I appreciate your time, brother. Shedding some light, you know what I'm saying, on the cap, how it worked, crunching some of the numbers for us. Just appreciate your time, man. And
Anytime. If you guys want me back on, just give me a message me on Twitter.
Definitely.
I'm up for it. Yeah, thank you. This is a blast.
Appreciate it, man. Well, for my big bro, P Warrior _9, I've been good. Jason Hurley, 49ers Cap. Hit him up at 49ers Cap or 49erscap.com. Y'all know what we do. Bang, bang. Shouts out to the gang, and we out of here.